Speaker here. So just to make sure you all can see the slides and you can hear me, can you, Archie, if you don't mind, just give me a thumb up so I can, I know you see me and you can hear me, right? Anyone can just in the chat. You all hear me, okay? And you see the slides? Can you unmute Professor Archie? Is it okay? You hear me and you see the slides,
yes,
okay?
Yes, we can hear you as well. We can see the slides.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So this particular course we started today is, we call it Thesis. It's a big course called Thesis Supervision, Guidance and Research. We will be providing support to all master and PhD students, and of course MBA, DBA, but just generally it is a master and PhD students. And today is our first week of this course. And today we will take you through the research foundation and topic development, which is week one of the bigger course. Let me give you a quick learning outcomes of what we're planning to do. I will give you an introduction to LISD because this course is part of LISD offerings. And I already showed you that video, what we're trying to do here. Of course, there isn't much time to speak about LISD, but LISD is really one of the research institutions very keen to support global demand for research and teaching focus on sustainable development. Of course, we are giving full attention to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, because these goals, unfortunately, yes, we now can publicly talk, unfortunately, they are not going to be achieved by 2030. In a couple of weeks, around 37 countries are going to present their voluntary national reviews as the United Nations in New York, but the progress is very slow. So we will be focusing, the LISD is focusing heavily on helping countries how to achieve these goals. So we have a lot of programs, and we have a very rich website. We will be launching our first programs. Will start on in September. But this course in particular is being designed to help those currently need our support. We have a group of, I think, 50 at least. The first group of experts we, if you like, we opened the space for are 50 people, experts from all over the world, including even very senior people from international organizations like the World Bank, people with experience in Vodafone, ministers who were leading countries, and so on and so forth. So I'll give you a big introduction quickly, and then I'm very keen in this next 15 minutes to give you an introduction to this course in particular, and then a couple of things I will just go through them very quickly. I want to make sure anyone is going to join or to continue in this course. We have a common understanding of what do we mean by research and what is the purpose of doing research. And I will highlight very quickly, maybe in 1 or 2 minutes, the quality of good research. Because at the end of the day, you're not just keen on passing your dissertation by the end of next month or your PhD, but you want to be a very good researcher. Today will be week one. Professor Archie, she will take us through the first week, talking about research foundation and topic development. So this is actually week one of the course. And then we will look into how you can ensure in this next maybe 6 weeks, we can help you to successfully complete your research. We call it a project because it's a project, whether it's a master or part of your PhD. And then we will do a summary and questions. So Before I go into the program structure, I would like, I thought this is the best way to show you the introduction to the LISD is to share the website. And this is our website. You can watch, you can go and see. This is the London Institute of Sustainable Development. And you can come here and you see all our programs, PhD, DBA, the master program, diploma. One important thing we would like to draw your attention, we only develop and create and launch programs which are being requested by government organizations, international organizations. We do not just create programs to compete with any other university because we all work in universities. So example like project management for sustainable reconstruction and development. This is our latest offering. There are a lot of questions from Syria, from Sudan, Palestine, Ukraine, and now Iran, and the list will go on and on. Just look to what is happening right now in Venezuela, for example. There are a specific nature of projects, what we call them reconstruction or rebuilding after war, after a disaster, like what is happening in Venezuela and in many, many parts of Venezuela. So this is the kind of programs we normally try quickly to develop. They have a specific nature, so we're trying to offer our expertise. Project management and sustainability, halal marketing, this is continuously being requested, and so on. I don't want to go through all the list. Women leadership, youth leadership, and so on. The most, if you like, highly requested course is the MBA leadership, public policy, and sustainability. And the list will go on. So you can go and look at our website here. I wouldn't take long really, but some of the questions or the regular questions, we always receive them, the admission process, the application, and this is very easy. You'll go here and click on admission, and it will take you to our website so you can understand how do you choose your program and so on until you submit completely online. And then here you will click on submitting online. It will give you an idea about the fee structure. We are very, very keen to make it very clear to everyone. WSD is a non-profit. LISD is a non-profit organization, but there is a heavy cost actually we have to cover for all those experts, the platform, the teaching material, and so on. And the team which is behind it in terms of graphic design, videos, people who are really working very hard, printing, publishing, and so on. But we are even cheaper and less than the cost. One of our programs, for example, the MSc Healthcare Leadership, it's almost 50% than the same program charge or fees in least developing countries. We charge less than those in the least developing countries are charging. Yes, you can go and check it. And then you will see the fee structure for the postgraduate diploma, and then you will see the scholarship. We're offering a scholarship, particularly for those we want to help. The top priority now is to help the scholarship to candidates from countries in war. And then the list will go on and on. But quickly going through, I want to direct you to, this is very important. Those people, we have thousands actually, but it is quite a big task to get these people on board. So Kotler, Samia Melhem from the World Bank, Gail, an fantastic minister from St. Lucia, work at the University of West Indies, and then the list will go on and on. And you can see the diversity, the expertise we're bringing here, not just in terms of diversity of women and men. No, it's a diversity of everything. Fantastic Joseph from Macquarie. Joseph is running similar PhD supervision programs for many years for a large number of students from Uganda and others. So this is the kind of people you will get, and there is more available. All these people will be very happy and delighted to supervise anyone. But as I said, we're taking it because of the scale of the project is very high. We need to make sure. So we got expertise in public health and nutrition, in marketing, and so on from all over the world. So this is just a quick, if you like, background. We have a dedicated programs, specific one, focusing on what we just mentioned here in terms of research methods for the PhD and MSc. But what we would like to say, that's a complete dedicated program for 9 months, where we cover many, many materials from A to Z. But in this one in particular, we're going to start today, we are providing support. So there is a different, I hope people They will appreciate the difference. We have our own dedicated programs for a master and PhD students. We have something we call it Research Bites, where we help small help for 2-3 hours for people who are really interested in a complete guide to writing high quality research papers. So we do a lot of these things, but you just need to ask us. Please do contact Professor Archie, and she will be able to give you answers. So we do a lot of things on research methods and dissertation. But as I said, for example, this is the one where we provide a comprehensive 9 months, 10 months, 1 year programs. We call it Learning Hub programs, empowering MBA and MSc candidates. This is a long program, and you can start from A to Z with us, and we will take you through a big journey. We will cover everything. But for the benefit of today, I would like to focus today on a specific support we are offering to our students, particularly those who are now they need to submit their work by the end of next month. Now, let me start by saying, although I mentioned the UK students, but this program, or what we are offering here in support, is open to anyone. In the UK, in Europe, in America, in Africa, in Middle East, it will be offered online every Saturday. I'm going to go through this now, but from the start, I want to make it very clear. In the UK, we have more accessibility to offer it face-to-face, and I will take you through this shortly. But from the start, we are planning this program to run for 6 weeks. And then from week 7 all the way to week 10, we call them optional session. And I will explain what is the difference and what we mean by that. So in week 1 today, Professor Archie will start taking you through the research foundation and the topic development. Week 2, we'll go through research review, theoretical development. Week 3, we'll go to methodology and research design. 4, we'll go into data analysis and interpretation and research findings. 5, thesis writing and publication development. 6, research completion, impact on future development. So this is 6 weeks. You will reach that point where you can complete your research, and you could say, okay, fine, I'm happy here, I will stop here. But many people from the different or the numerous emails and inquiries we receive, they would like to go further. For example, we call them additional optional sessions. Week 7, one-to-one research monitoring, detailed thesis dissertation review, and individual research guidance. So we may have, and we already have, requests from several people doing their PhD. They need really a more research monitoring detail. They need a follow-up. They need coaching, and so on and so on. Some they ask for individual one-to-one. We will offer that one, and we can offer that one. Week 8, personalized research consultation, advanced data analysis, support and finding enhancement. In week 9, individual academic writing support, thesis, and you can see these are all more tailored, individual. We can do it on a one-to-one. So it's a more of one-to-one private session, if you like. We can do that. And in week 10, final research evaluation, thesis refinement, and future research development planning. So this is how the structure of this program will work. Quickly, we will be teaching this weekly. We try to find the best time of the week, and so far the majority of the people who contacted us, they prefer this Saturday from 11 to 2 o'clock London time. So now wherever you're joining us, from Uganda, from Sudan, from Indonesia, from America, might be different time, but this is what we found so far. But when we going to have people formally register for this program from the next week, if the majority of the people who finally register, they prefer, say, 10 o'clock, they prefer maybe 12 o'clock, or they may prefer Sunday, we will cooperate. We will do our best to cooperate with, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure we deliver it at the time people prefer it. So it will involve research teaching, discussions, quizzes, practical exercise. Yes, you will see that. And we will hope in this weekly teaching, we will apply learning to the thesis dissertation, so you can all the time engage into self-evaluation. Now, we would expect, or what we say, it is independent research work. We would like to revise thesis dissertation, apply weekly learning, submit revised work to mentor, deadline Thursday night. So we will give you a lot of work to do at home. So today you will get some work. You need to submit it by next Thursday night, so you can actually benefit from the feedback and so on. And please feel free when we finish. If you have any other question, we can do it. We're also planning, and this will be weekly, Friday research clinics. So every Friday, there will be a one-to-one supervision, thesis dissertation review, academic feedback, corrections and guidance, preparation for next week. So we will give you quizzes, homework for you to do independent reading, applying it to your research. Come back to us by Thursday. And on Friday, we have this Friday research clinic where we will go through all this. And then on Saturday, we have our weekly sessions. The idea is that we help you to really get your project completed successfully by end of next month. It's a 6-week program. Saturday is teaching, Thursday submission, Friday clinics. This cycle repeat for 6 weeks to cover the full thesis and dissertation. Now, quickly, optional intensive support. This from week 7 to 10, as I mentioned earlier, additional clinics, intensive supervision, personalized guidance, same Saturday, Friday format. But as I said, we are flexible. It depends on who is subscribing to what we are offering here. Schedule at a glance. Saturday research workshop, 11 to 2 o'clock, London time. Thursday, submit revised work, and Friday research clinic, 2 to 5 o'clock, London time. Now, quickly, we expect in this particular course, everyone who will join, he or she has already started some kind of, or attended some kind of courses or a program of research and dissertation development. So we expect people to have an answer to all these things. So for example, if I just start brainstorming with you, we are not going to start from asking you, what do you understand by the term research? We expect anyone to understand what is research mean. But if we are teaching in our long 9 months program, this is where we start. So I'm just mentioning this so you can evaluate yourself and understand where we're going to be, what we are going to be doing here. We are offering support to people who are currently doing their master or MBA or DBA or PhD research. So we expect them to already have all knowledge about what is research. Again, we expect you to distinguish business and management research from research more generally. In the business school, which is normally most of the students, most of the biggest schools in most universities are the business schools. They are the largest. But although we tackle this from all different angles, but we expect you to have a good understanding of the distinction between a master or an MBA in business and management from other subjects, for example, healthcare, digital health, AI. We expect you to have that distinction, although we're going to tackle all of them. Students' reasons for doing the research. We expect you have already, you have a reason why you're doing it. Maybe you are, yes, it's about fulfillment of your MSc or MBA. So these are all things we expect you to have gone through them. Appraise yourself, knowledge, skills, and personal qualities. We expect you to have already been well prepared and you have a good quality of research to start with. So we expect that people understand what is research and they don't see it just as a collecting facts, information with no clear purpose. So what I'm going through is just to tell you what we normally start with in our first 2-3 sessions. But we are not doing this here because this is a support for an existing or current students really need our support to strengthen their research capability and be able to complete by next month, or if it's a PhD, they continue. So we don't see research as reassembling, recording facts, information without. Most books, they start telling you, we'll do this brainstorming with you. Get your product idea, know this perspective. This is not research. This is why research, we're referring to a process of inquiry and investigation. We're referring to, actually, most books more or less agree on these 4 or 5 definitions. Systematic and methodical. We expect you to understand research is really something have a clear purpose to find things out Research is about increasing your knowledge and so on. So in a nutshell, something that people undertake in order to find things in a systematic way, thereby increasing their knowledge. It is transdisciplinary and should engage with both theory and practice. That's generally the understanding we expect you to have. The purpose of research: review existing knowledge, could be investigating existing problems, situations, provide solutions, explore, analyze general issues, construct, create new procedure system. These are all purposes of the research you are doing, generate new knowledge, combination of any of the above. Research scope could be anything. It could be in economic term, for example, we're talking about the market size, trends in the industry, industry structure, competitive analysis. It could be gross national product. It could be technology, innovation, consumption better. These are all we call them part of the research scope. The scope of the research, how big, how small you will be focusing. We also, in the scope of the research, we expect the political cultural factors, political system constraints, legal constraints, social trends, lifestyle, demographic analysis, attitude, and so on. These are all what we expect in the scope of any research. Let me just move this from here. Commercial factors, logistic of supply, finance, and so on and so on. A good researcher, we expect you as a good researcher to have some of the following characteristics. To be a good researcher, you really should have a good communication skills, good IT skills. We call them IT because we really mean IT. Using computer, AI is fantastic, but many people, they don't even know how to navigate, how to use AI ethically. Many times they make mistakes because simply they're not here, or they are not cheating or engaging. Many times I found students engaging in plagiarism, but actually, in my opinion, it was a mistake rather than really knowing how to use what is available. Intellectual skills. You need to be able intellectually to tackle the issues you want to address. Motivation. You must have a motivation. And I always say to students, please don't tell me your motivation because you must finish this so you can get your master or PhD. Of course, it's a motivation, but the way sometimes students say it to you, I don't want them just to be doing part of what will enable them to finish and get the master. No, you need to be motivated to what you are doing because you want to see it as something you like it. Organization, you need to be well organized. Example, any PhD students, I tell him or her from day one, when we start really working on our relationship, we're developing our relationship, I will say to him or her, I'm going to tell you one piece of advice. You will only come and say to me, Alam, thank you very much telling me this. But unfortunately, that will be after 2 or 3 years when you finish. So you will not really appreciate how much I'm saving your time if you listen to me now, unless you come to the end of your dissertation submission. And he say, what is it? I say, anything from today. You should have a folder in your computer, call it references. Anything on the bus coming to the university. If you read the free metro paper we have here in the UK, and you find something could be of interest or use to your PhD or any kind of information, make sure on the same day you go to your computer, you open your Word file, write the reference of that particular paper you found on the bus free of charge. So if you want to use it at any point, you have a well-documented reference. If you came across any website, make sure you write it. But don't come to the last time when you want to come and submit. Oh, I can't find this reference. I can't find this one. Oh, it's an internet. I need to make sure I write down the date I have browsed it. Maybe by that time it's already gone. Oh, that book I remember Alam showed me in the conference we went to in Scotland. Oh, he didn't. Where is that book? No. So, or you need to be well organized. Personal strengths and weaknesses. You need to know your strengths and weaknesses. I can tell you about a weakness of a student told me just 2 days ago. He said to me, if I come to the office or if I come to the university, I can produce. I told him I was discussing with him productivity. He said to me, I produce massively. if I come and sit for 4 hours in any office or in the university or anywhere. But my real weakness is how to wake up early and start working. You will be surprised. Many people, they see this strange. What do you mean by weakness starting early? Yes, for many people, they know. They are not an early riser, if you like. Not like Alam. That doesn't mean I'm strong or resilient. It's just part of me. I wake up early morning, start my work. Some people, they don't have that habit. But when they are sitting on a table like this, so he knows his weaknesses, how to solve it, he has to find a way. You need to be able to be working independence, particularly since COVID. People are working now from home. Yes, go to many cafes now in the UK. I'm just giving you an example. Even I have seen this in Saudi Arabia recently. Cafes are full of people, very busy people working from the cafe, because all you need now is internet. That's all what you need. So quickly, business and management research, we need to make sure we appreciate, we understand the challenges which are obvious. And many students ask me, what is I think the obvious, a manager, although he got lots of material, lots of information, he would be very good source of knowledge to you, but remember, he is very busy. So managers powerful and busy, therefore unlikely to allow research access unless they can see personal commercial advantage. This is a problem. Any company, any research you do with any business organization, remember, these are profit, and I always cross that profit for students between two brackets. I write maximum profit. They are not opening this business for profit, but for a maximum profit. So if you tell them, or you want access, or you want to interview them, or you want to collect data, remember that these are people need to make maximum profit. Managers draw on knowledge developed by other disciplines. Practical consequences, you need to have this all in mind. Type of research, we expect you to know all the type of research, the purpose of the research, because the type of research will depend on the purpose, the process, the logic of the research, the outcome of the research. So these are all things we expect you to have learned. The exploratory research, what we mean by exploratory, and examples of that, and what is easy research exploratory, you need to answer these questions. As I said, if you haven't yet started working on your research, and for any reason or other, you haven't attended the basic, maybe normally 2 to 4 lectures. In most universities in the UK, they do that. You haven't attended any of these lectures, or you miss them, and you need us to start with you from scratch, going through what we mean by exploratory research, what we mean by hypothesis, empirical evidence. There's a lot of material here. Yes, we can, but this course is not about that. And then we will go through descriptive. This is something you need to have. If you don't have, we can help you, yes, but this is not what we're going to be covering in this course. We want to start immediately going into research foundation and so on and so on, because our aim is to help you achieve something in this next 7 weeks, and you successfully submit by the end of August. Or for other countries, might be November, whatever, but this is just, I'm using it as an example. Descriptive research, what we mean by that. Analytical explanatory research, what we mean by that. Predictive research, and so on. Quantitative, qualitative research. There's a lot of material. This is, we call it in the initial or essential of research methods and dissertation. Now, this is from Saunders, which is a book I like. I always used it, but there's a lot of research method books. Basic research, applied research. What do you mean by this? There's a lot of things. We teach all these things in the 9-month course. But as I said, if you need to learn this one, we can, if there are maybe, I don't know, if 20 is our magic number or ideal number, but if we find a good number of students, they are interested to go from the scratch, we can do that. Stages in the research process, this is how we see it. You start with the topic, and we start with you. We say the topic has to be, what is your topic? What is the title of your research? Okay, is there any criteria for the title, Alam? Yes. It has to be simple, short, meaning, blah, 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 and so on. Have you identified the problem you want to address, or a challenge you want to, or a solution to this, and so on? What approach you're going to use, and then the data collection and the analysis and interpretation. This is what we expect the different stages. Probably you are in the topic problem now, and you're going through the approach. Maybe you are in the data collection, we don't know. But wherever you are, we will be able to help you. This is from Saunders, but most of the research, I always say any research and methods or research and dissertation, whatever the title of the book, more or less, more or of them are the same, whatever you have or you like or you have access to. But generally, if you look at them, all of them, they're trying to achieve this. So from Saunders, for example, he will tell you the journey. I call it a journey. Wish to do research, formulate and clarify your research topic, between two brackets, chapter 2. Critical review of the literature, chapter 3. Understand your philosophy and approach, and so on and so on. So most of the books we use or we have used or you will find or you will use, this is the way, more of them, more or less following the same roadmap. And then they have a chapter about sampling, about secondary data, observation, cell structure, and in-depth interviews, questionnaire. More or less, all of them share the same thing. More or less, they will go further and give you detail. For example, plan your data collection and collect using one or more of sampling, and so on. So this is all the material is, they all cover the same: observations and structure. Analyze your data using one of both of quantitative or qualitative. What is the difference between the two? Which one you selected? Write your project report and prepare your presentation. Submit your project report and give your presentation. This is more or less the process. Now, what I have done here is just, I wanted to make sure I tell you what we are planning to do here, what is there and what is not there. All this stuff, the essential of doing research, are not part of this course. This course is really to offer support. And quickly, before I hand over to Professor Archie, if you are in the UK, London is our ideal scenario, but if you are in the UK, even not in London, but you are able to bring a group of students. I mean, 1, 2 will be very expensive for us to do it. But if they are, for example, in London, if any number between 15 to 20, they come forward and say to me, Alam, yes, we are from different university in London, or I'm from Bristol, from Manchester, from Wales, but I'm in London now. We would like you or any of the team to teach us over the weekend. We can. And we can teach face-to-face. We can teach in East London, in our campus there. We can teach in West London. We can teach in Central London. We have different facilities. We can use other universities' facilities, and so on and so forth. Yes, we can. If a group of students come and say, Alam, can we do it in Manchester? Yes, we can. If we get a reasonable number. As I said, the magic number is normally 20. If a group of students come to us, I said, Alam, we are not face-to-face. We would like it online, but we are a group of students from Uganda, from whatever it is, from Sudan, whatever it is, but we really like it. We like to be taught on Thursday, maybe afternoon or evening. We can look into that. We have a large number of experts. Of course, in the UK, we have a lot of them. If you want access to them, yes, we have experts on AI, digital health, leadership, women leadership, finance, fintech, marketing. All these people are available. If you need to have a one-to-one support from them during your dissertation, they are available. And we will do this by communicating with them, finding their availability. They could be on their holiday. This is the other challenge you need to understand. Almost all people are on holiday now. Really, we are on holiday now. So they could be offering you 2-3 hours every week from wherever they are. At the end of the day, they need this internet interface and so on and so on. So we are here to help. And this video, I will share it once we finish with all the students approaching us from the UK. And it will be our answer to all your questions. I think I need to stop here and hand over to Professor Archie to start week 1, which is today. And then we will see how we're going on. So Archie, you can start. I think you are unmuted. You can go ahead, share, and I will stop here.
Thank you so much, Professor Alam. It was a very comprehensive introduction and overview about the session. And I think things are very clear to all my participants. I should be co-host to share my screen, Professor Alam. Okay.
Yes, you should be, yes.
Yeah. In the meantime, I just would like to insist on very important point that this session is going to be very intensive teaching, like for 6 weeks, every Saturday, just as a reminder, and every Friday is a clinic where you will have one-to-one session with our mentors or the supervisors. They'll be working through your MBA, MSc dissertation, or your PhD or DBA thesis. Still, I cannot share my screen.
You cannot share. Let me see. Okay, make co-host. Does it change now?
I think so, yeah. Yes, I can share now.
Excellent.
I think my screen is quite visible, and I'm going to put it on the presentation mode.
Excellent.
Give me a moment, please.
Yeah.
To put it on the presentation. Okay, now I think it's in the presentation mode. Sorry that I took some few minutes to do that. So let's start our very intensive program, which is a week 1 now, research foundation and topic development. Now, this is what you say, this is the first part of your MBA, MSc, PhD thesis. But before we work on the foundation, you know that there are many homework, many things that you have to do. So I will just try to be very organized and follow each string very carefully. After the completion of this particular session today, you will be able to understand what are the expectations of master's dissertation or PhD thesis. You will be clearly able to identify the topics of research, how to refine it, and how to position it. Then you will be able to develop a very impactful research problems. And as you know that if the problem's objectives are not clearly defined, the entire work of the research is not meaningful, no matter if it is a postgraduate dissertation or a doctorate thesis. Then you will be able to check and formulate your research aims, objectives, and research questions. I will also be explaining the difference between these 3 important components. You will be able to talk about how to identify research gaps, establishing research contribution, because without identifying research gaps, you really cannot write your objectives. Quickly, as if you're coming for the master's dissertation, what I feel and what Professor Alam also feel that there are some key expectations associated with the program. So definitely we are going to focus on that we will be able to demonstrate the advanced understanding, the specific area of research, no matter if it is if it is in the domain of medicine, healthcare sector, artificial intelligence, business management generally, or advertising. It is absolutely fine. You can come up from any domain, but our focus will be to provide you guidance for specific research areas. We will be addressing or helping you to address the challenges, practical challenges, research problems, talking about the questions, how to apply academic theories and concepts. Like every domain has different academic theories. We have to work together to identify what are the theories applied in your research work. The requirements of the research, you should be able to learn how to establish a research literature review, how to establish a research context, apply a particular or appropriate research methods. For example, if it is a qualitative or a quantitative, as explained by Professor Alam today. Then we will also be explaining that how you can work on evidence-based findings, associating your research objectives with your, for example, entire process, be it literature review, methodology, or results and analysis. So the expected contributions are that you will be able to get the help for critical analysis in describing the existing knowledge, demonstrating independent thinking and academic writing skills. Because you see, when you write your thesis or dissertation, there has to be a scientific way of writing. Although we are not expecting any technical jargons or any, you can say, creative writing, but of course we do expect a very formal and scientific way of presentation of ideas, which should be specific, clear, and in simple terms. We will also be able to help you to identify what are the recommendations, future goals for the research, and implications of the policies if applicable. Similarly, the same aspects we're going to apply on PhD or DBA, Doctors of Business Administration. The only difference could be that when we talk about PhD, it is more contributing towards your original contribution to the knowledge. Like, for example, if you're establishing a model or doing an empirical study or so on. Also, here you will be talking about research gap and original investigation. So like MBA dissertation, MSc dissertation, or postgraduate dissertation is slightly different from PhD or DBA, because PhD and DBA is more extensive work, more focusing on originality, rather just doing a comparative analysis or doing a case study, which is more common in postgraduate studies. So it's more about academic and professional understanding. Here in PhD or at PhD level, you are applying advanced research capabilities, demonstrating the mastery research philosophy, methodology, analytical techniques. You are critically evaluating the existing and doing all the debates on the existing research. You will be doing a defensive research outcomes. And the scholarly impact would be that you will be able to generate or contribute academic knowledge and practice, that you are making a huge contribution in the research world through your thesis and through your DBA dissertation. You will be able to engage global research discussions at this level and provide quality research outputs. So if you are able to do all these important components, I would say that your research thesis is really meaningful. So here are the different criteria that you have to work if you are in the master's or PhD. So we have identified 4 different criteria for you. As a student, as a scholar, it is your responsibility to pick up these areas. But from us, our responsibility is help you to see through these ideas. For example, what is the level of research? There should be a clear distinction. Why clear distinction? Because master's dissertation is about investigating, for example, the knowledge which is existing, investigating some existing research problem, not really extensive working on originality or generating some new framework, free model. It is not expected. However, if you're doing at the master's dissertation, it is a value addition. We cannot prevent that, or we wouldn't say that doesn't come in this, you can say, domain, but it is more preferable if you are clearly defining these areas. The question is why? The reason is that for master dissertation, you have limited time frame. For PhD, you have at least 2 years or 3 years down the line. So you have more time frame to work on the, you can say, extensive research work. So it is very important to restrict ourselves within the time frame so that we can complete our thesis or dissertation on time. Let's talk about depth and complexity. Definitely at master's level, you need a critical analysis, evaluation, and the same process actually. The only difference is the process will be more extensive, more critical, based on more originality at the PhD level than of master's level. Research contribution at master's level, the research world is not expecting to have a new model developed, or for example, it is not expected from the scholars to come up with, you can say, a huge area of contribution. Mostly it is more like a review work. It is more about testing the existing hypothesis. So we have to understand these important differences while we are working. And the reason is one simple, just to tap the time. You know, there is a time frame for masters as well as for PhD. So this was important suggestions from our side if you are coming for your master dissertation or if you're coming for PhD thesis. Now we are coming up to the exact week 1 plan, where we are talking about the research topic. I will just follow an organized process. As I told you, I will start from topic to objectives, to aims, objectives, question, and then hypothesis today. And I will also help you to understand that how you can work on these things. And later on, when you'll get back home today, you have to open your dissertation if you are done with it. You will open your thesis if you have completed. You will see what you have studied today. You will try to align with that if it is actually aligning with your work or not. You will be having the time until Thursday to work on it, to review that work and send it to us to review as well. So on Fridays, when we are meeting in the clinic, we will be having an opportunity to discuss your thesis based on what we have studied today. So on Friday, coming Friday, I mean, your chapter 1, which is focusing on objectives, will be completed. So this is the idea of this intensive program. So let's talk about the topic. What is a good topic? Number 1, we talk about feasibility. Now, what is feasibility? What do you mean by feasibility? This is a very abstract word, subjective word, and it varies from group to group, individual to individual, country to country. Now, this feasibility analysis it has to be done from your side, depending on many aspects, one by one. Are you fascinated by the topic? Number 1, you can say criteria for feasibility. Are you interested in doing in this objective, or are you interested in this domain? That explains the motivational level also. For example, if you put me into some kind of research which is not my, for example, area of interest, and if I'm not keen to do that, my level of motivation will be little low. So it is 1 point minus in the feasibility analysis. Do you have a necessary research skills? Another important point. Are you good at quantitative analysis? Are you good at qualitative analysis? Do you know the use of SPSS software programming? Do you know how to apply, for example, different kind of statistical programs? For example, do you know how to work on regression analysis? Can you apply correlation? So you have to test your research skills also. If not, then how you are going to get the training? This is another answer if the answer is coming as no. Or rather, I would say it's a solution if the answer is coming no for research methodology. Another important point, that's the time available to you. As I've explained it while I was explaining the differences between MBA or postgraduate dissertation and PhD thesis, that you have to check on the time. For PhD, you have good time to work on different sections. You can have your schedule done. But for masters, you have little time because you have other modules also to complete. So remember that understanding the limitation of the time, you have to frame your entire work. Then your research will still be current when you're doing it. This is a very important area, I would say. Some research you are starting today, let's say 2026, and you expect it to be completed, let's say in 2029 or 2020, for example, 8. So the technology that you're using, the objectives that you're using will be, you can say, relevant in that time or not. This is a very important question that we have to answer to ourselves. So also your feasibility should be based on that. Do not pick up the topics which are already obsolete. Do not pick up the topic where already lots of research work has been done. Because as a researcher, we are expected to make some contribution. And if we are failed to do such contribution, there is no meaning to do that research. Now, when I say contribution, we are not expecting you or from the scholars, let's put this way, to invent something. No, a small contribution, but a meaningful contribution makes sense. So we have to work on this also, that the work that we are doing should not get obsoleted, old by the time you are completing your work. So you have to be very wise. You have to be intelligent. You have to understand the competitive advantage of your research work, topic rather. We are just at the topic before you move ahead. Do you have sufficient financial and other resources? Now, financial resources mostly related to the methodology. Maybe you need some financial assistance for collecting data. Maybe also you have to work on getting the approvals from the different committees, research committees. If you are able to do all that work within the time frame, I think it's a good time to start your work. But at the same time, there is a responsibility from the universities, institutes, and the organizations like us that we are providing support to our students in getting many things done, or at least supporting. Then will you be able to gain access to the data? For example, you want to do a research in healthcare sector and you need, you can say, a direct data for patients. Are you able to get the reasonable data, authentic data, and you will be able to pass those ethical requirement and the licensing requirement? If you're able to do that, then pick up the topic, and it's really meaningful because these research makes a major contribution. You definitely would like to know what are the attributes of research topics. All of you must be having your topics ready. So when I'm starting this slide, quickly you can think over your topic. I'm giving you 2 seconds. Just get back to your research topic. No problem for masters, no problem for PhD students. Just remember your topic. What is your topic? And now what attributes, I'm explaining it to you, try to align with your topic. And then it will give you an opportunity to make an assessment if your topic is feasible, if it is interesting, if it is meaningful or not. Take 2 seconds. You can give me thumbs up if you have already seen your topic. Give me the thumbs up, my participants, if you have seen your topic. Okay, great. So the first criteria or the attribute is appropriateness. What is appropriateness? Is it worthwhile? It is coming from the same feasibility analysis that what your topic of area or the research, is it worthwhile to do it? Now, how will you do that? You will do this by examining the institute standards. Like, for example, you are coming from different universities, different college, different countries, I would say. You would need to see that what are the requirements your college, institute, or universities have elaborated for you. Every university has their different standards. Although more or less they are pretty similar because the process of research is similar throughout the world, I would say. The only difference could be the different requirements in the styling purpose or formatting purpose, but generally these are the same. So please see if the standards of the university that where you are studying is aligned with the topic that you're doing. The topics contains issues which is clearly linking to the country where you belong to, for example, or the universities where you are belonging to, or the area from where you are working. For example, you're doing a research in computer science. The topic should be related to computer science. You're working in information systems. The topic should align the conceptual framework within the topic. It should showcase. If it is missing, definitely there is an issue. There is a discrepancy between the domain and the topic. Now, after completing it, also you will get back, or you will now coming close to your main area. Are the research questions and objectives clearly stated? Now, this question cannot be answered at this point. This question will be answered only after when we will do some homework. So we will just come to that homework one by one. Also, will the proposed research provide fresh insights to the topic, or it's the repeated one or the old techniques you're doing it? If that's so, it makes no sense to carry ahead with the same research problem. And lastly, in the entire research work, I always say to my scholars that try to hold on the strings of, you can say, uniformity, symmetry, aligning with the objectives. They should try to just avoid all the deviations, be focused, because there are chances, you can say many times I've seen in the thesis that I see deviations. These deviations can be avoided only by following one rule. I call it thumbs rule. What is the thumbs rule? That always remember your objective here while you are writing, no matter if you're doing your literature review, methodology, analysis, always have your objectives on your mind while doing your work. This will help you to strengthen your work, and you will be very straightforward. You will not be deviated from your task. And then what will you do? You make a mapping. Mapping objectives you have a topic. So topic is closely related to the objectives or not. It should not that the topic is explaining something else and the objectives are different. No, you have to make a mapping that there are some keywords reflecting in the topic also. However, the topic has to be specific, clear, concise, short. We have to remember these keywords: specific, concise, short, meaningful. After appropriateness, the next heading comes is it relevant? Now, does the topic really or clearly explaining the idea that you would like to work on. This is important. So what you can do here, you can use some, you can say techniques. What are the techniques that you can use? You can do two techniques. One is rational thinking and another is creative thinking. As a research scholar, we expect that the scholar should have rational and thinking or aptitude or creative aptitude. Many times, these two are, you can say, not inbuilt in the scholar, but through the training, these things can be worked on. We don't have to worry about that. Let's put our ideas here in different tables. When we say rational thinking, it's more about the strength and interest. You can use many techniques, like you can use SWOT analysis, strength and weaknesses, opportunities and threats that you can apply in your research work to identify the research ideas. You can examine the staff research interest where you are working with. For example, your supervisor's interest is in digital marketing, and you also have a flair in digital marketing. Why not work with a particular supervisor? Because then you will have more opportunity to learn about different aspects of digital marketing. As an example, I'm giving you. Also, it's important to check the past project titles. It should be, you can say, not exactly the same as of the work done before. Do lots of discussion. Now, what's the meaning of discussion? Discussion is a very important tool throughout the process. Discuss with your supervisors, peers, professionals, industry people, to come up with some good ideas where you would like to research on. And deciding a topic, to be honest, it is not an easy thing that one day you get up and you say that this is a research topic I'm going to work on. No, it requires lots of homework that we are talking today. Doing a literature review. Now, I'll just take 2 minutes here. I'll just share my experience with you. When I was doing my PhD, and I went to my supervisor and I just expressed my interest that I would like to do a PhD. So my supervisor told me, okay, Arshi, what's your problem? I said, sorry, sir, I don't have a problem. Oh, you don't have a problem? We cannot do anything. So, many, many weeks, you wouldn't believe, he had only one question to ask me, Arshi, what's your problem? And it took me weeks to identify what's my problem. Actually, what's my research problem that I would like to work on. That time, we were not having very extensive applications of internet. We used to have, for example, mostly, journals and libraries. We used to sit in the libraries, study books and books to identify the area. And I was very keen to do research in consumer satisfaction during that time. So, it took me a week to identify what's my problem. Say one day when my supervisor asked me, what's your problem? I was able to answer that question. So this question, I'm putting it to you. What's your problem? So to identify this problem, my dear scholar, you have to do a literature search. You can use internet, you can do many things. And inshallah, when we will be talking in week 2, which will be literature review, I will be explaining you how quickly and how swiftly you can study literature and you can identify the competitive advantage of your research work. So in your thesis, when you are actually when you're writing your literature review, you should be clearly explaining the competitive advantage of your work. There should be clearly given that what are the research gaps. But the important point is that literature review comes as a second part of your study. But when we do the research, this is the first thing that we do. Without a literature review, my dear scholars, we cannot do the topic. We cannot write the aim. We cannot write objectives. We cannot write questions. Nothing can be done without literature review. So what is the first thing that we have to do is a literature review. However, in the documentation, that takes a second place, but it is okay. We're going to talk about this step by step. Don't worry. You can take the help from the media that we do it many times. Creative thinking, always have a notebook. You can have some slips, writing the creative ideas, what you are getting into. Sometimes you are in the midway of literature review and you change your mind. You change your mind and no, this is not the area that I would like to work on. So you always should be doing a design thinking for your ideas, exploring your personal preferences and the projects that you have done in the past, for example, to identify what interests you. explore the relevance of business using the literature, how you can do that. This will help you to clear your mind, actually. This is a cleaning process. This will help you to reach to the destination where you want to. Do you get my point? So all this homework that you're doing to yourself, for yourself rather, it will help you to clean your way, clean your path, so that you can see your objectives and the topics clearly. You can also draw a relevance tree, identifying the different blocks, work on different blocks, different areas, identifying which is the best one to be carried forward. Brainstorming. Professor Alam also explained this point, brainstorming. I always suggest my students that brainstorming is one of the best techniques that we can use to identify or to list down actually our topics, our ideas. So when we are doing a brainstorming, scholars, please remember you do not have to use or you do not have to put any rules. Brainstorming means just write your ideas freely, flowy. Just list down everything, 20, 50, 100, no matter what. And then you apply a selection rule. What is selection rule? Selection rule applies with the rejection. I mean, putting a cross. This doesn't work. This doesn't qualify the feasibility analysis. I don't have funds to do this research. The techniques are very difficult. I cannot do this. I cannot develop the skills in so short time. You know, selecting, rejecting. And then you will have maybe 3, 4 topics left with you in the brainstorming session that you can work on for your project or for your thesis, for your dissertation. It could be anything. Are we good together, scholars? Give me the thumbs up. I always like to feedback. I always like to take feedback, and I do not like to just carry on teaching and, you know, without having a feedback. So are you all good with me? Are we all together? Perfect. We are all together. And in this session, I have few exercises also so that you feel involved in that. It shouldn't be like I'm talking all the time. I would like to hear from you as well. So I will stop at some point and I will give you an opportunity to talk about your objectives today. Now we are here framing research objectives and research questions. What should be the first question here before I move ahead? Do you have a question here? When I'm talking about objectives and questions. If I were you, my first question would be, what is the difference between objectives and questions? Why can't we have only objectives? Or why can't we just write questions? Why do we have this segregation, then having an objective and then having questions? This should be my question as a scholar. I'm sure this must be on your mind too. Before that, now we are already done with the topic. Just a quick revision that we know what is the good research topic. We have generated clear ideas after doing a brainstorming session. Now this is the time to convert my ideas into clear questions and clear objectives. As a simple scholar, as a simple person, I would say the difference is a silver line difference. What is the silver line difference? A thin difference. The difference in terms of expressing the ideas. When we write research objectives, before I talk about the attributes of questions and objectives, it's only the way you write it. Research objectives are affirmative statements and research questions are interrogative statements. That is asking questions, why, when, how, where, and so on. Is, for example, objectives are clear statements. This is the basic difference. However, at the PhD level, we try to understand this difference at more extensive level. Whereas at the postgraduate level, this difference is not very significant, I would say. So just try to keep these things on your mind while you are writing your work. It will help you to organize your work. Then you will be writing your research proposal. Many universities, they call it as synopsis. You can say research proposal. All these things are the same meaning. It explains that the abstract, a short introduction, a short literature review, research methodology, and expected outcome, and so on. What are the objectives now? Display what are expected results or outcomes of the study is connected to. The objectives are the statements. Those statements you are going to show as an analysis in the later part of your work. Like, for example, in your collecting data, analyzing the data, and showing that how these objectives are measured. So just by the simple definition here, you will be able to explain how your objectives are measured. Coming to the question, as I told you, there is a silver line difference. But many times at the PhD level, what we do, for example, if we have two objectives, we try to get more straightforward, more focused by explaining the questions that can be answered to analyze these objectives. So do you understand the connectivity? You have objectives at the higher level, and then you try to develop questions that should be answered in the later part of your research to meet or to analyze objective. For example, you have research objective 1, RO1. To measure this research objectives, you can have, for example, 3 questions. Now, these questions are actually the reflection of objective. Please, scholar, remember that you have to do lots of homework behind. You can have, for example, a table, write the objectives, do the mapping with the questions, how they are answering these objectives. And if you are failing to do that at the master's level, again, I'm insisting, it is okay not to have questions. It is okay just to have objectives, and then we can work on the other part of the research. But since we are talking about questions, so always remember that it should be the reflection of objective. Nothing should be random. Every string that you are adding in your research work should have one, holding hand. It should not be flowing in the air. Everything should get back to objectives. So these are actually the statements, simple statements that should be answered during the study. Very simple, very clear. Something you want to know about your discipline, about your specific area within your discipline is a research question. So it is not actually a topic that you have already given in the research. It should not be fragmented. It should end with a question mark. As I told you, these are interrogative sentences. So there should be a question mark. It should not end with a sign of, exclamation or full stop. So I'm also explaining you the punctuation while I'm going through this presentation. Very clear, very precise. It shouldn't be very broad. It shouldn't be very narrow. So always remember that in the research, something which is abstract, broad, is usually not accepted. We have to be very focused because, it's not possible in the research to be broad. Because as a researcher, what broad things can be covered? It's not possible. It is beyond the human capacity. So we have to be original in our work. And originality can be reflected only when you showcase your work with genuine efforts, which means that you have to be very specific, very focused, and straightforward, to the point. Open-ended as opposed to close-ended. So when you're writing, for example, it cannot be answered in a sentence or phrase. So please remember this point, that you try to be open-ended. It should not be close-ended. What do you mean by close-ended and open-ended? Mostly these two concepts you will learn while we will be doing a research methodology. But since it is an introduction, I would like to explain in one line. Open-ended means you have an opportunity to explain something in, you can say, a descriptive mode. And close-ended, that you are giving choices, within that you have to choose. No, this is a question. There has to be a statement. So now as a scholar, what are your goals? Number 1, you should develop an academic research questions. This is not a creative writing. It is not a poetry. It is not a literature, for example, or literary work that is showing some kind of poetic impression. No, it has to be a scientific, academic way of presentation. You should consider strategies for developing research questions. Strategies, I've explained you brainstorming. And during this session, I will explain you a few more strategies that you can apply to identify the goals. It is completely up to you, but as the supervisors today, it is our responsibility to explain you the strategies also, how we can make ease for you to identify that. So now you are beginning to formulate your research questions. Again, another question that should pop in your mind. Why do we need to create research questions? Why can't we move ahead with research objectives? Look, until now, I have not explained research objectives. I'm still at research questions. It is up to you as a scholar to have questions or not. But as a supervisor, we always recommend our students to have questions because these questions make our work more, you can say, specific. It makes the readers actually, or evaluators, let's put this way, to understand that what study has been answered in the particular, for example, dissertation or thesis. If the questions are clearly written, then quickly they can see 1, 2, 3 questions for research objective 1. They will quickly go and see the result that if these questions are answered or analyzed, and then eventually objective 1 is measured or not. So you are actually facilitating the process of evaluation also. You are contributing in the systematic work that is expected from the scholar. So you have to be very, you can say, active, and you should be having research questions. Number one, it will definitely create a nature, a desire of a learner to add something. For example, you are adding inquisitiveness. The research could be, it's also about, a focusing diligent and systematic inquiry, or for example, investigation. So definitely it is very important to have research questions, because research questions are also supporting the theories that you're adding in your research work. Many times I see that several theories are added in the thesis and master's dissertation, which are not aligning with their work. And the evaluators or the reviewers ask quick question, why did you add this theory? So if you have a research question clearly written, and then you have a theory, you are very confident to answer this question. Okay, here is a question, and this question has been framed with the foundation of theory XYZ. So you are answering the question for having all the literature work that you are incorporating in your research. And it's also important, as I explained in the beginning, that it will help you to clearly define that what are you answering in your research work. And then it will be adding, or you can say making your work more clear. It is adding meaning to your academic work. Personal knowledge and the research question. Now, in research, many times we see the reflection of personal experiences. However, we usually do not suggest to add personal experience is not the right word. I would use personal judgment. And many times when I'm doing giving assignments to my scholars, I always say that if you are taking Wikipedia as your reference, always try to authenticate the information from different sources also. Because as a scholar, we all know that Wikipedia is not an authentic source of information. And can anybody tell me why it is not an authentic source of information? You can use your chat, I think so. And I can read it later. My question goes that why Wikipedia is not an authentic source of information. It is always advisable to add a judgmental value or wisdom to verify the information. So, okay, you have to write this answer in the chat and I will check. The idea here is that your personal judgment should not be the part of your thesis. However, personal experience cannot be avoided. So please, it's important to list down your interests pertaining to your assignments, pertaining to your discipline, pertaining to your, for example, surroundings or the countries where you're living in. All this will be incorporated here. Consider one of the items on your list and jot down everything about the topic in the clear list, or if you like, you can have a short paragraph. So why we are following this strategy? We are following this strategy only to clear your mind, to know what you want to do. So when you are actually start to write your thesis or dissertation, it should be a clear format. There wouldn't be ambiguity. As an evaluator or supervisor, we will not feel lost. Now, it's the time for you to find the answers for the following questions. So you are free to write. For example, who means who are the participants of your research, from whom you are going to collect data, who are the scholars included, what do you want to study, when this research will be applied, in what time, for example, when will you conduct your research, how many times you are going to collect data, where are you going to collect data, what is the geographic location, which technology are you going to incorporate to measure your objectives, what if this scenario doesn't happen, or what if this happened. You understand me? So all these are the questions that you have to frame and get the answers for these questions. When you get the answer of these questions, clearly you can write the objectives. And then you will also be able to identify what are the possible gaps. The gaps will come when you are trying to seek the answers of these questions. Who are your participants? Let's say patient. Now, patients are your participants, but you are unable to get the data from them directly. You are depending on, for example, other sources. So there are many, there are many loopholes and there are many shortcomings, as well as there are limitations also as a scholar that we face. And there the role of supervisor comes, that they help you, to support you, to find feasible solutions or an alternative to work on those areas. So keep on continuing the process until you reach to your research question. Secondary sources and the research questions. What do you mean by secondary sources? Secondary sources are those sources on which you depend on collecting information, which is not being collected by you through the direct investigation, through direct observation, through direct interviews, or data collection by questionnaire. Something which is already available publicly, you are accessing them. And the very good example for that are the articles, research articles that you search from different sources, from Scopus Index journals or from Google Scholar or from various databases relevant to your work. These days, scholars are using lots of, you can say, applications to do literature review or to read secondary sources to identify research questions. And one of the sessions will be dealing with that also, where we will help you to use these tools so that you can do literature review more swiftly and in a fast way. So we know what is secondary sources now. And from secondary sources, you have to do, or you have to identify your research question. Your third question today should be on your mind, that how can I extract my research question from secondary sources? Am I right? This question is popping on your mind or not? That how can you extract or get your research question from secondary sources? So this is the part of week 2 session. But quickly, I will tell you that you have to read. Read, read, read. There is no shortcut, my dear scholars. Trust me, there's no shortcut. The right way is to read. You have to go to the library. You have to download research articles, go through the journals, read. But reading in what way? Not a random reading, of course. The reading has to be systematic. You have to identify the parameters and the criteria. Criteria could be any. Number one, again, you have to use a selection process here. You have to list down the criteria which is feasible for you. For example, choose the time frame. Okay, I can read 5 years or 10 years literature. Choose the location. That since your area, for example, your research is focusing on, let's say, subcontinent. Okay, so try to get the literature related to subcontinent. Of course, you have to go through the global scenario also, but don't make things very extensive. It is not possible. The kind of literature we have available, it is not possible to cover the entire literature. So you have to be specific in clearing out or talking or listing your parameters. Parameters for time frame, geographical location, target participants, technology that you would like to see. For example, you would like to see only the applications of artificial intelligence. This is one parameter. So list down the parameters, then access the library, and then it will help you. For example, now you are left with 50 literature, for example, or 50 articles. Reading 50 articles is not definitely a big deal, especially with the tools that we have these days. And I'm going to explain how to use these tools to read 50 or 100 articles in my next session. So after reading it, you are good with literature review. You have studied, for example, 100 or 200 literature through the tools that we will be learning in the later stages. You will know, for example, what were the major objectives, methodology applied, for example, what were the, for example, gap. And from the gap, you will be intelligent enough to pick up your research topic, your research area that you will research further, because this area is not covered in the previous study. So you have all opportunities to explain the unique idea. Let me tell you, scholars, that one of the first and most important questions that you need to answer in your research is, what is your contribution? And your contribution can be explained only by doing a good literature review and identifying the competitive advantage of the work. If this part is missing, the entire work is failed. It is completely failed. We do not meet the expectation. So we have to be very careful about this point. We have to be able to justify that the objectives that we are working on or the questions that we are answering in our research have not been answered before. Now, you may say, how can we do this? Now, this is not important that you have to do some very extensive work or you're going to invent something that I told you earlier. No, a small research, but new idea, a novice idea will make the contribution. So a small contribution, do not, ignore this important point. Even a small contribution makes a huge difference or the way you deal with. So here you have, for example, the modes of thoughts and research questions. What kind of questions that you can focus on? Generally, as a scholar, you can do a comparative analysis. You can do a contrast. You can bring up the similarities. You can talk about the process. For example, in the previous studies, maybe the technology was not used to analyze the process. Now you would like to use extensive artificial intelligence or data visualization techniques, machine learning, for example, to do the same analysis, and you're using the same data set. So this is making a contribution from your side. For example, you can do a classification or a division to understand. And again, you can use the tools like data mining tools for using classifications and segmentations. You can explain about the cause and effects. You can write some hypothesis and you can explain or test these hypotheses. All this is new areas that you can, or new ways to defend your work. Problems and solutions, you can explain that you identify the problems that have not been answered in the past, and you can give the solutions and open doors for the new research, for example. Again, what are the things that you need to focus on? Why, how, so what, and what if. So always ask these questions from yourself for your research, of course, that why you need to study, why these objectives are important, why these questions are important, in what way they are going to make contribution to the research world, how it will be carried out, so what. If it is not done, then what is missing? This is very important, that if this research is not being conducted, what is the missing part that will be missed by the research world? So this will also explain your contribution. And then you talk about the scenarios, like what if. So you can use the scenarios to explain all these important modes. And again, I'm coming and insisting on another point. While doing this study today, I would like you to always remember your topic, your specific topic, and the objectives that you have. So keep on analyzing your objectives while you are going through the teaching today. How you can focus and support research questions. Now, when you are focusing on research questions, you are already sorted. You have already done lots of work, lots of homework, I would say, for your research. and you are more clear with your research questions. So you have to do now 3 important activities, 1, 2, and 3. So we will see what are these 3 activities. Number 1, questions that will help you to explore should be focusing the greater depth, that what exactly you are going to answer. Example, these are the questions. For example, how can the university community increase its economic impact on the Florence Muscle Shoals community? This is a simple question. This is a simple example of one of the questions probably that I would like to work on. Now, this is a big question, big question, right? Now, to support this question, I have to, break the points, break the ice. How can I break the ice? I will now identify a few more areas here. Like, how does the university currently making an impact? Then I would also like to know what could be done and what has not been, or what has been done before, what is missing, and what are the limitations, challenges I may have, and what are the, you can say, support system already present. So I further divided a support questions for my understanding to answer my big question. So when you are having a research question, always identify, or you can underline the keywords. The keywords, for example, getting back to the question, increase its economic impact. I want to measure the economic impact. Where? In this particular community. So these are the 2 important keywords I need to work on. So first I will see what is happening in the community, what is the current scenario, what is the prevalent policies, and what is missing, what are the strengths. So I just listed down or further segmented myself in different areas. So this will ease my work and this will make me more systematic. You're growing in the research now. Now, it's important point that I always give, even when I'm reviewing a simple research paper, I'm reviewing a thesis for PhD students or for my master's students, I always tell my students that focus on the audience, because they should be learning from your work. Do not have assumptions in your work, please. This is very important. Anything that you are adding in your work should have some description, some meaning. So as a scholar, you have to remember that you are providing first-hand information. Do not come up with any term randomly and without giving, you can say, a reasonable explanation. A very simple example for you. We all know what is AI. AI, all the time we are talking AI. But when you're using AI as a term in your research work, you have to mention artificial intelligence and then, for example, AI, and then consistently you can use it. So remember that you are supervisor. You think your supervisor knows everything. But when the supervisor is reading your work, you have to assume that your supervisor is now an audience. They are going to learn everything from your work. So do not have any assumptions. This is the second thumbs rule I have given to you today. So clearly have your purpose and that you can express in simple statements in your thesis. Organize your work. If the ideas are changing, change the paragraph. This is how you can format your work. Okay, one theory, one paragraph. Now if the theory is talking about some another aspect, have another paragraph. And during that, you can develop the ideas also and give it in a very formal way. So this is another very good example that when you are now, for example, arranging or organizing yourself, this is a rule that you can follow. And please do not forget that most importantly, do not get discouraged or worried about if you find your thesis changing or it is having some kind of added information. This is natural because the research work is a natural process. There will be new things coming in. There will be few things that you would like to remove completely from your research area. Then trust me, I think I have supervised more than hundreds of the scholars, and many times I have seen that after maybe 6 months, a scholar is coming to me and telling me, Professor Arshi, I think this is not working for me. I need to have some changes. I need to change my topic. I need to, clarify my objectives more. And I used to work with my scholars because during the process, Something is learned by the scholar. So do not worry about these natural changes that coming in your process. This is very natural. This is very, very prevalent. And scholars do have these experiences, which is quite common. So don't worry about these changes which are coming in. This is a simple way, all of you know. This is how you are framing your question. Each questions will lead to a hypothesis. Now, hypothesis is a new word that you have heard from me in this session. Until now, I think I have not mentioned hypothesis today. As rather, I would say I have not explained hypothesis to you. I will explain it to you later. But every question is, again, aligned with the hypothesis. You may have lots of questions, but that doesn't mean that all these questions, for all these questions, you should have the similar hypothesis or the same level of hypothesis. Probably 3 questions are helping to test one hypothesis. So this is also important to remember, because what I'm explaining it to you is also from my experiences, that many times I see one research objective, one research question, one hypothesis. Many times my scholars are trying to map this way. It is not mandatory. It is not necessary. And of course, there are no fixed rules for that matter as well. But it is good if one hypothesis is tested by various questions. So you can see here that you have a question. You can develop a hypothesis, or the hypothesis is also, you can say the statements or philosophical statements that justify or that explains the nature of existing. And this nature of existence should be tested if it is supported or not supported through your analysis. For that matter, you need to identify a research design and methodology that will include many things. For example, research methods, a sample design, your target participants, the statistical methods that you're going to use in your work, how you're going to collect the data, what are the ethical aspects, all this will be incorporated in your research methodology. And then it leads to collection and analysis. That is almost the last part of your work. Let's say you need to know more now. Now, these questions, again, should be answered to the scholar. That is question important? Now you will use this, for example, pyramid. This pyramid is just an example for you, has been divided into different sections, helping you to understand that how you can filter your information, or how you can use filtered information and how you can use unfiltered information to answer these questions. Now, this pyramid is nothing, just you can say an example of the literature work that you already have. This will help you to understand what has been done before, what are the questions that should be answered now. This is the right time for the research to be carried out. What is the gap that you have to address to? What are the research methodology that can be helped to identify your question? And what is a good literature review? A good literature review, extensive literature review will make your work rich, very advanced, very competitive. Now you are framing your research ideas. When I'm talking about framing your research ideas, I'm here to explain you a few techniques that we have currently present. Many of you must have completed your research ideas. Many of you must have done a lot of work on your research ideas, but this session will definitely help you to rework on your research ideas, that if you were good, or do you need some more reaffirmation or rechecking. You can use Delphi techniques. Delphi technique is one of my favorite techniques, I would say. You can do, for example, a preliminary study. You can continue with testing your ideas. You can integrate these ideas, for example. Then you can refine the topics for you through your organization or through the peers or the experts from the industries. This way you can carry forward. So let's take these techniques one by one. What is a Delphi technique? This is not a new thing for you. I'm sure about it. but just as a revision, we can take this. Delphi technique is a very structured method, let me tell you. It is a method of communication that will help you to not only take the decisions, rather it will also help you to predict your work, if it is going in the right direction or not. So this is mostly depending for, yes, you can say taking the help from the experts, the panel of people, discussing with your peer groups, like we as a supervisor can be the part of the panel and give you a discussion, and so that you can structurally come up for the clear ideas. And the round is like multiple rounds, just like brainstorming session, that first you list down the raw ideas, and then you clean the ideas, and then eventually you come up with 2-3 ideas, and then you work on those. Similar scenario here, that you can have a multiple rounds of questionnaires with experts, and they will provide you anonymous response. Keep on working and try to clean ideas. These responses are clearly, first of all, aggregated, shared in the group, allowing for the adjustment, having some consensus to identify that, okay, these areas are really important. Mostly you will see this Delphi technique is applied for the big research projects conducted in different countries at the higher level. But PhD also is the same form of the research work. Then you will start from selecting experts, the process, and the rounds that were important for you. And then finally, you will reach to some consensus, specific areas. Where would you like to do your research? This will give you everything, actually. It will give you, it will explain rather the challenges. It will explain you the strengths. It will explain you what is lacking, what are the things to be done. Like it's the same scenario that we have done or that I have mentioned earlier in the feasibility analysis. So as an individual, you are doing a feasibility analysis, or you can apply a Delphi technique to get the feasibility analysis for your research work. Here is a wonderful diagram, very specific for you, that you can see. The Delphi techniques or method will help you to actually identify the problem. You will be able to identify. So next time when your supervisor is asking you what's your problem, you can apply Delphi method and you will know what is the problem. So you will follow the process, select the expert, give them the questionnaire. There will be various rounds of studying these questionnaires, 1 round, 2 rounds, 3, or as many, until you reach to a conclusion where you will be able to understand that what are the important areas. Then you analyze and revise, and finally prepare a report. And this report is nothing but a synopsis where you are clearly identifying that what are the things that you would like to do in your research work, no matter if it is a postgraduate dissertation or your thesis. Now, I'm going back to my research questions. You're good now? Let's write your research questions. So when we are writing our research questions, we are very consistent as we are expected to. We should be very clearly giving the conclusion. It should not be difficult. It should be at the right level. What do you mean by right level? Not too much, not too little. It should be average, clear, simple. Do not be very descriptive and do not be in two words. So usually we call it as Goldilocks. What is a Goldilocks test? That you can take a test also here to identify that if your research question is good or not. So it should not be very broad. It should not be very, you can say simple or small, that people are not, or your audience is not able to understand anything. So here you see a Goldilocks rule, that again, you can use a questionnaire to test your questions. If it is fair enough, it is good enough to be measured or carried forward. So you should get all the ticks. Now, how will you get the ticks? Every research is different, actually. So you have to prepare you can say, a drop-down list of questions. And these questions should be, again, focusing on measuring your questions that you have in your research. And then we will see if the questions are aligned with the topic or not. So the Goldilocks rule states the human experience, where we work on that it should be just right, not too much, not very hard, or not very easy. It should be reasonable, actually. Now you are trying to turn your ideas into your research paper. This research paper, you can say, can be your PhD or could be your master's. So here I have a very, clear table for you. So I have taken two examples for you. These two examples, one is related to human resource management and another one I have taken from the marketing. So the research idea probably could be you would like to do something, broad area, that advertising and share prices, something you would, this is the random idea that came on your mind and you would like to write a master's thesis on that. So what will you do? For example, you will come to the general focus on that, the general scenario. Anything in the research which starts from the broader to getting specific, very to the point, but you will start from the broader scenario. So the broader scenario, as an example I have given you here, that maybe how does the running of a television advertising campaign designed to boost the image of a company affects in its share price? Everything is too broad. Nothing is known. But this is how we have to start. From here, we will go to television advertising campaign. We will talk about the particular channel. We will talk about the particular shareholders. We can particular, for example, company, what kind of image the company is looking for. Now, from broader, we are getting specific research questions when we are coming up to write the PhD thesis or MBA dissertation. Another example for you. From human resource, I have taken this example. Job recruitment via internet. You would like to measure research objectives in this area, let's say. The broader area, how effective is recruiting for new staff via the internet in comparison to traditional methods? It's a very broad area. Nothing is known to you. You can again get very specific from broader by applying the rules that we just talked. So usually my scholars ask me that how, professor, we can get specific or focusing on the specific areas from the broader scenario. So usually I suggest my scholars to use Russian doll methods. It's a very useful technique because here you can see so many dolls. And from all these journal dolls or the big dolls, you're getting very specific to the point. You can start with the general focus as an example I have given you. Follow the Russian doll as the essence of the question. You can discuss the area of interest with your tutor, supervisor, you can say mentors, and they will help you to do that. This principle, I would like to give you a bit of history that I always like to give an introduction whenever I'm using or talking about new techniques. That it was given somewhere as a program. It was pioneered by Chinese masters in the 18th century. It is not a new thing, I would say. And then it was like popularized by Russian peasant. They were into woodwork, and usually young girls used to play from these dolls. But the variation, you can see there, you will find a big doll. And usually it is also part of game where we ask our scholars to identify the difference. Today we just run short of time. Otherwise we could have played that also. That from the biggest doll to the smallest doll, there are changes. They are not identical. It's not only about that the sizes are changing. Also, there are variations in colors, variation in something is added, something is removed. The idea here is that from the broader perspective, how we are getting into the focused specific scenario. So we follow Russian doll principles. So this principle is followed in many ways to identify differences using the critical analytical skills and also to explain how from the broader area we can get to the specific area. This is just an example for you. We are good at questions. Now we are talking about objectives. Check your preferences when you are writing objectives. Objectives are never general, my dear students or my dear scholars. They are always very, very specific. Anything general is not an objective. It could be a goal, it could be an aim, or it could be anything, but not objective. So objectives are very precise. There are few rules that I would like to mention before I talk about what is SMART. anything which is not specific, anything which is not clear, anything which is not measurable, anything which cannot be within the time frame is not an objective. So what is the conclusion? Number one, objective is specific, clear, concise, measurable. Please remember this word measurable. You should be able to analyze it, show it how the outcomes have come. Then it is an objective. And also it should be within the time frame. It should not be like 5 years, 10 years, and you are unable to measure it. No, if this is a scenario, it is not an objective. So let's see, when you are writing your objective, try to analyze your objective in these smart things. Number one, specific, measurable, a very, very important ingredient in objective. Achievable within the time frame. It should not be within the feasibility analysis. That is the reason when I started my session, I talked about feasibility analysis. So please do a feasibility analysis. If it is not, it is measurable, but it is not feasible to do it for you as a researcher in your circumstances. So it is not achievable. It should be realistic. It should be realistic in terms of giving analysis and timely within the time frame. If any of the ingredient from SMART is missing, I will not call it, or you will not call it, no one will call it as an objective. So again, by Thursday, you have to apply this rule on your objective, and you will see if all these specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely is applied on your objective or not. If not, you have to highlight it as in red font and work with your supervisors on Friday in the clinic. Or you can rework and send it to us to see if it is working in this way or not. What are the important theories we have? Asking questions is the best solution. I always say that asking options like what questions are, is it a descriptive research or let's say a quantitative research? Are you going beyond the nature? Why this question is important? So you have to answer these important points. And why do you need to do this? You need to do this because you have to explain the phenomena, you have to establish a relationship, you have to map the entire work for your results analysis, and you have to predict the outcomes. So here is a theory for you that you can apply, the general theory. This theory is having, for example, 3 layers, a typology, a threefold typology. Here you see that again, you need to apply, for example, applying the increasing capacity and restricting the general applicability. And this you can do, I'm sorry, I have to go back. And this you can do, for example, by applying different theories at different levels. For example, the middle range theory, the theories which are broad, and the theories which are specific in nature. And all these theories should be justified by explaining your research questions, making them aligned with that. It is not really like you are doing some figures to show that how these theories are aligned with your questions or objectives. Rather, you can explain in different paragraphs. Now here I have for you give me a moment, please. I need to plug in my laptop charger. It's just going to die. Just 1 minute. Thank you. It was just going to die, so I had to plug in. Okay, coming back to the point here. Every research thesis, dissertation should have these important components. So number one, the title. That can be changed during the process. This is a natural process, as I've explained it to you. So do not worry if there are, minor changes coming in your title. This is natural. The next is that you will write abstract and keywords. Ideally, this should be written after the completion of work. Or, you see the sequence, but when you are documenting it, it will come in this way. But when you are researching it, it will come in different orders. So do not worry about that. For example, abstract and keyword is the first form that we see in the dissertation or in the thesis. But it is done in the last part because this is the gist of your work. Background, where you will have, for example, context, literature review, problem statements, and all that. I can also say introduction. Introduction is also written, I think, at the second part. The first thing that you write in your research is your literature review. The first part. What is the first part? Literature review. Even before the title, dear scholar. Remember that. Even before the title, you are doing a literature review. Because from literature review, you will get your title. From literature review, you will get your research objectives and questions. From literature review, you will be able to identify what are your methodology that you can apply. So that is the first thing, first step that you have to complete. Although in your work, it is coming a little bit later. You see, it's coming a bit later. Background, also you write before abstract. Because in background also, you are giving a huge coverage of overall coverage of your work that you have done in your, for example, thesis or dissertation. So this is the second part. Research methodology, we already know that can be done into two parts. The one is the theoretical aspect, where you talk about research design. You just document your steps, like who will be the sample, what will be the type of questionnaire, open-ended, close-ended, which research methodology you're going to apply, quantitative or qualitative. Within qualitative, which method of analysis you're going to use, thematic analysis or another descriptive analysis. All this you're going to explain. And the second part of research methodology is the actual work that you collected data. The sample was 500. You interviewed them. You, for example, carried out, for example, a survey, how many questions were answered, and so on. So all this work is being done in research methodology under two sections. One is the theoretical aspect, and another one is the practical aspect. And the third part is very important, which is about ethical statement. You have to list down everything related to data use, data accessibility, receiving the consent from the participants, approval. All this have to be documented very clearly in the ethical statement. Now you are ready to analyze your work in the results section. Show that how you have applied or used quantitative or qualitative outcome. In all these stages, always remember, keep on your mind the research questions that you have framed that you need to measure. And then you will explain in the discussion part or in the analysis, up to you, that how did you measure these objectives and research questions. The conclusion should give a gist, comprehensive scenario of overall work, and then you will have references. The references should be included, all the part, and you have to check the citation style, reference style, given by your university. Many universities are following, for example, APA, some are following, for example, Chicago, some are following, for example, APA or Harvard. It's completely up to the different universities' requirement. So you have to see what is the requirement given by your university, and you have to follow the same format in your references. Now here is the time of self-assessment. I would like to stop sharing my screen for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna share my screen again. I want to see if I have any. All right. So now this is the time of self-assessment. I have few participants here, and I would like to ask you, after this session, Professor Alam, can they open their mic?
Yes, they can. I think they just have to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you try unmute? Anyone would like, and if there's a problem, just let us know.
Yeah, anyone can unmute. Okay, let me call the name, for example.
David, for example, are you unable to unmute? Jihad, are you able or unable to unmute? Sorry. because we are not blocking anyone.
Yes, Prof.
Yes, they can do that.
Yes,
Excellent. So this is the time of self-assessment. Quickly, I will ask from you. It will help me and help you to understand many things. Okay, let me put this way, that what is your research topic? Just quickly think on your mind and open your mic and then read it out to us. I would like to see what is your research topic. You can explain it to me that you are, for example, a postgraduate scholar or a PhD scholar. I think I can start with Jihad. Jihad, can you unmute and tell me if you are a postgraduate scholar or a PhD scholar, and what is the title of your dissertation or thesis? Okay, anyone else? I have David also.
Can I?
Intisar.
Yes. Can I say my master title? It's about the role of livelihoods programs in enhancing the community resilience.
This is the title of your PhD or MBA
No,
thesis?
no, master.
Master, Intisar. Can you, Intisar, say it again, please? And a bit loudly, yeah.
Yes. The role of livelihoods programs in enhancing the community resilience.
Right. So from the topic, this is just one example, Intisar, okay? From the topic itself, I know this, we are talking about livelihood, we are talking about some community, but still, if you ask me, I think there is a need of refinement of the topic. You understand me, Intisar?
Okay.
Okay. Now, when we will be in the on Friday in the clinic, we will also would like to see the research objectives that you have already explained in your work. And then we will see that if the objectives are somehow, little reflecting in your topic or not. Although your topic is excellent in the way that it is very concise, it is short, it is also clear. But when I will see the objectives, I will be more confident that your topic is really giving a meaningful sense. Do you understand me, Intisar?
Yes. You mean
Excellent.
to be more specific and clear based on the objectives.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because anything that we do in our entire postgraduate dissertation or thesis should be the reflection of our objectives. We should not forget this point. This is the string that we have to hold very, very strongly. You get my point? Okay, I can take one more example, maybe from David. And I have one participant, the name is not showing to me, it is Samson. So probably you can rename so that I can know the name. Actually, it's free. Anyone can open and just say the topic. It will be a good learning for all of us, actually. Yeah. Anyone would like to say something? All right. I was here in the self-assessment. And I will move ahead. That on Thursday, what is the activity that you all have to do to make our session, to make our weekly plan more meaningful? You will go through the activity, these activities where you will go, what do you want to research? What does that mean? That you will go and check your objectives, research objectives, the broad areas to the specific areas. You can apply Russian doll methods, no problem. It will be very good. Also, you will be able to give us within your work, you just would like to see that why this research is important. You have to clearly explain the justification. And then you will talk about how will you conduct the research, journal approach. So there has to be, this activity is usually given to the scholars who are starting their work. But since you have already completed most of your part, that I am assuming, in that case, what you need to do, that you will go through your entire work and try to see that if you have applied these important 3 points in your dissertation or thesis or not. This is important for you. So on Thursday night, I would say, if you're sending your thesis to us, or just the first chapter, I would say it will more helpful to see that if you have organized in the same way as we have explained today or not. This is a time of quiz. Let's take the quiz. Are you all ready? Dear participants, are you all ready for the quiz? You can give me thumbs up. Intisar, Jihad, Dr. Archie.
I'm ready, bro. I'm ready.
Excellent, excellent. What is the main purpose of the research objective? Anyone? Option A, to describe the research topic only. B, to display the expected results or outcomes of the study. C, to summarize the literature review. D, to explain the researcher's personal interest. Yes, my dear participants, who would like to answer? You can use your chat box also if you like. The main purpose of research objective, that we write it. I see an answer in the chat box. Intisar has answered. Okay, excellent, excellent. Yes, right. The correct answer is to display the expected results or outcomes of the study. So it is very clear that since it is the reflection of the results, you have to focus on objective throughout your thesis, throughout your dissertation. I have, I think, 4 questions only, so don't worry. The next one here, a good research question should be, it should be broad, difficult to measure, a short statement without a clear focus, clear, precise, and open-ended, based only on the researcher's opinion. These are the 4 options I have for you. Which one is correct for the research question? Which one I will say, oh, this is a good question? I have an answer. Wow, Intisar, excellent. Good, very good. It should be clear, precise, and open-ended. Okay. Also, Jihad has given a very good answer. Thank you, dear both. Let's move to the next part. Oops, sorry, both questions are dropping in the same time, but no problem. Which of the following is an important attribute of a good research topic? I talked a lot about topic today. So you have 4 options. It should be impossible to complete with the available time. It should avoid links with existing theories. It should be feasible, relevant, and provide meaningful insights. It should focus only on personal opinions. Which one is the correct option for the research topic, a good research topic? I have an answer. Yes, Intisar. Oh, you guys are really doing very well. It is feasible, it should be feasible, relevant, and providing meaningful insights. So when you read your topic now, you have to see that if it is feasible, it is really relevant, and it's giving a meaningful insight or not, or it's just, you can say, too broad to understand. So this statement should help you to screen your topic. And finally, the fourth question I have here is why it is important to identify a research gap. Why is identifying a research gap important? Number one, to make the research longer, to show where a new knowledge or understanding can be developed, or to avoid existing literature, or to replace the need of research objectives. All right, you guys are fast. I think the girls are doing very well. Yes, excellent, excellent, Jihad and Intisar. It's definitely about showing the new area. It's definitely about to developing the understanding for, you can say, the contribution that is important to be made. A very meaningful session, I would say, and that calls off the conclusion of week 1 that we have completed today. And today was the first session where our focus was just to work on our objectives and questions and topic. So if we are good with these 3 things, I think we can move ahead with literature review. So in the coming time, which will be Thursday to have your thesis with us, and the Friday in the clinic, we will be working closely with you for chapter 1, which is introduction, where we will see all these important components, if you have incorporated, if the reviews are important to be done, and how to carry forward. So now you can, for example, have your work with you. I would suggest you to go home today. We are all remotely here. So it's very important for you to see if you have met these important criteria or not. Now, the next thing that you have to do is you have to see that how you can check or take our support, how you can help get help for these readings, prepare for the next sessions. We have already given you sessions. For example, the time is not suiting to you. We are very flexible. We can talk one-on-one about the timing, especially for the clinics. And then the next step for you is to register formally in our sessions to get the best benefit from us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Alam. Over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much. Very comprehensive. I really enjoyed it. I think we took people now for, I think now nearly 2 hours and 12 minutes. So do you have any questions before we go? We are very keen not to keep you long, but you can contact us by email or contact Archie. I think let me just stop this first of all.